All right, Bang Bang. Today is Friday. It is November 19th. Welcome to the Dog Walk presented by Barstool Sports. It's True Crime Friday. I'm here with Allie. Before we jump into it, though, I do want to say it's the weekend. Obviously, it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it's a great time for you to get some Gale Street Inn, okay? Located on 4914 North Milwaukee Avenue. Gale Street's there for you. They got the ribs. They got the potato skins, and I feel like I've shined a lot of light on the French onion. And obviously everyone knows about the ribs. And I talked a little bit about this yesterday, but let me tell you guys about those skins again, those potato skins. And I know everyone's like, oh, it's a potato skin. Like, oh, you know, so many places have it as an appetizer. It's a classic bar appetizer. Gale Streets are different. They're awesome. They're very good. So go check out those when you go to Gale Street Inn. And they have a great variety of seafood. Oysters Rockefeller, they're back on the menu. The crab legs, the Alaskan king crab legs, the blackened salmon. Just a great variety there for you if you're looking for some food. And maybe you're not feeling ribs that day. Although, I don't know how you can go there and not get ribs. At least, you know, a little half slap. You know, do a half and half. Whatever you're going to do. Whatever makes you happy, really. So, the whole menu is great. Everything there. There's something there for everybody. Date night, it's a great spot to bring your girls, so make sure you go check that out. You know, nice little low-key, hey, we're going to go a little outskirts of the city today. Gale Street's your spot for that. So go check them out, 4914 North Milwaukee, and go check out their website, galestreet.com. Ribs will travel to wherever you are. If you're watching football, it's a great football meal. So go with Gale Street, galestreet.com. And all right, let's talk about some True Crime Friday. All right, TCA, what do we have for today?
All right. Today, we are giving the people what they want. We are doing the Browns Chicken Massacre.
So this has been nominated a lot. A lot of people have DM'd me about this one.
Yes. A lot of people have asked for this one. I was familiar with the story. Obviously, it's a huge one. It takes place near Chicago. I just hadn't done it yet because I wanted to do it justice. But today we're going to cover it. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, you know, this is kind of a, like I said, a notorious one because it is actually the most notorious massacre in Chicago history.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, not that we've had like a ton of massacres, but yes.
Yeah, and I remember this. I've always been like so mystified by it, like intrigued, like what happened, because Brown's, for the people that don't know, is a regional chicken chain. Mm-hmm. It's a fried chicken chain. And have you had it before?
No, but it sounds so good right now.
It was like awesome. And you can't really...
You had it?
Oh, yeah. A ton as a kid. Like, it was like, yeah, it was like very like, you know, like...
At that location?
Yeah, no, not that location, but they were all over the place. And they were... Like they'd be at like parties and shit. Like people would
like grad parties and stuff like that.
Yeah. And it was good, and you don't really see them that much anymore. I know they're still like 20 or 25 in the Chicagoland area, so they're definitely out there. But Browns was really good. So
really good chicken.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
Shout out Browns.
Yeah.
Sponsor us, Browns.
I would love that. I would love
Browns. Now I feel like I need to try it. Mm-hmm. You know, you might not have an appetite after this story, but
yeah.
Maybe once you get your appetite back. Mm-hmm. So this took place on Northwest Highway, which is in not super far from here. It was out in Palatine, Illinois. Those of you who are not familiar with the city, would you say 45 minutes out of the city?
Yeah, give or take.
Yeah, depending on traffic. And this took place back in January of 1993. So it was January 8th, around 9 o'clock at night. The owners of the Brown's Chicken on Northwest Highway in Palatine were Richard and Lynn. They were at the store helping to close up. They had 5 other employees there also getting ready to close up, doing their thing and ready to shut down for the night when 2 men, unannounced to all the employees, entered the building. Now the men walked in, ordered a 4-piece chicken dinner, and then immediately started ordering all the employees to go to the back room and started executing them one by one. Just like that. Order dinner, execute all the employees. Did they
sit down and get their food or anything, or was it just kind of...
It was just odd that they
Like that they went through that step and it wasn't like instant. Like
it was like,
why,
and now we're gonna.
You're like, why?
Now it begins. Like
maybe they were scoping it out, seeing who was there. Like buy more time.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's probably what I could think of.
So and there were 2 of them. So there were 2 attackers, but 7 employees. Now, like I said, they started killing them off one by one. They ordered them all to the back. They either shot them right then and there, or they stabbed them to death. They were boom, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They took all the bodies. They moved them into the, that like walk-in freezer, fridge, cooler area. Mm-hmm. And they decided that they were going to help themselves to the cash. They took a little less than $2,000 cash and disappeared into the night. And that was that. Obviously, at this time, there was not like CCTV and, all this like high-end security footage or alarms or anything. It was 93. So that just like did not exist yet. Now, later on in the night, the parents of one of the employees grew concerned when their son did not come home from work, and they knew very well that Brown's was well past closing time. So that being said, they were like, okay, we need to contact the police. So they did. Simultaneously, a wife of another one of the employees, same thing. They knew Brown's was closed. She knew her husband should have been home at this time, and so she grew concerned. She decided that she was going to go take a look, and she saw that her husband's car, was still in the parking lot of Brown's Chicken. But she did not do any more than that. She contacted the police and was like, hey, I'm concerned. My husband has not came home. His car is still at work, but the store has been long shut down by now. Yeah, I'm concerned. So several family members reported their whoever it was to them missing, and or were concerned about them that they couldn't find him. And initially the police just like blew it off. Like it wasn't any sort of threat. They didn't really, they're like, oh, they'll turn up, It's very easy to brush that kind of thing off. To be like, oh, he's a teenage kid. Like, he'll come home at his own will. Or, oh, it's your husband. He's a grown man. Like, just because he's missing, you can't find him doesn't mean he's missing, kind of thing. Like, he could be off doing his own thing. Who knows? So initially the police were like, eh. And then after enough of these reports started to come in, they're like, all right, let's go take a look. Several of these Browns employees, like now it's kind of weird that several of the Browns employees have not showed up. Let's head over to Browns and see if we can't see anything. So obviously with that in mind, they initially brushed off. They're like, let's just go check it out. You can imagine the scene that they walked into. Yeah. They show up, and by time police arrived at Browns, the bodies had been lying there in that cooler area for 5.5 hours. Yes, they were in a cooler area, but still, this was, a massively gruesome scene to walk into. Upon arrival, police actually noticed that the back employee entrance door was open, which, they were initially like, yeah, okay, that's kind of weird. Why would they leave it wide open? Why would they leave it open if the store's closed? So they entered the building, and like I said, they walked into this just completely gruesome scene of all seven employees were deceased. And they found them in the cooler, the walk-in refrigerator area. Some of them were face up, some of them were face down. Like it was just complete chaos in there. Now, this almost immediately ensued this nationwide manhunt for, the person or persons that were responsible for this. This, although it was, such a chaotic, not a clean cut, not scientifically planned out kind of thing, it took 9 years to get someone into custody for this. 9 years after this, like, such a huge scene.
7 people in a freezer is a lot.
Yeah. And again, though, it was 93. So, like, they didn't have the technology that they do today. There was not as much that they could do back then. So, fast forward 9 years, March of 2002, a woman by the name of Ann Lockett comes forward to police and was like, I know who murdered those 7 people at Brown's Chicken 9 years ago. And she turned in her ex-boyfriend, James Degorski. She also turned in his accomplice, who was Juan Luna. She was like, it was James and it was Juan. And again, 9 years had passed. So like, why wait 9 years to turn them in if you knew he did this? Her story, which is absolutely believable, is that James threatened to kill her if she told anybody, which, in her mind is like, well, clearly he's capable of it, right? Like, he's not joking around. So she didn't come forward initially. Now, so that was in March 2002 that she turned James and Juan in. Now, a month later, Palatine PD obtained DNA samples from the 2 of them, and they actually ended up matching it to DNA that was found in saliva DNA that was found on a piece of chicken, a partially eaten piece of chicken, in the trash can the night of the murders. Or they actually found it 2 days after. But when they were investigating the scene, they found this partially eaten piece of chicken. They're like, even though they didn't have the technology, they had the thought to be like,
we're going to scrub all this.
Yeah, we might need this someday. Yeah. Now, again, it's been 9 years. You can't just like put a piece of chicken in an evidence bag and walk away for 9 years. It's going to grow a lot of things on it. So they stored it in a freezer to help preserve it in the meantime. Now, this this triggered a little bit of back and forth in the trials. Like, all right, we had to de-thaw it and then test it. And it was kind of like, is this an accurate testing if it's been frozen and then de-thawed? Like if it's been, quote, not really tampered with, but changed, However, weirdly enough, the DNA that was extracted and tested from the chicken somehow mysteriously disappeared before James Degorski could be and Luna could be convicted of any charges. So whether that was truly an accident or if there was something going on in the background there, it's not known, but very ironic that would just mysteriously disappear.
Yeah.
May 16th of 2002, so just a month or 2 later, both Degorski and Luna were taken into custody, and Luna actually ended up confessing to being the culprit, committing all 7 murders, and he went on with his trial. So he just he was busted 9 years later, and he was like, yep, that was me. I did it. Now, so he went on to trial. May 10th, it wasn't until 2007. So they were arrested in 2002 in May. May 10th of 2007, Luna was found guilty of 7 counts of murder and was sentenced to life in prison. Now, it took another 2 years to convict James because, his trial went on longer, the evidence, the whole 9 yards. But he was ultimately found guilty as well of the murders, and he also received life in prison. Now, both of them, kind of like last week's case, both of them escaped the death penalty because, again, this was in Illinois, and a typical rule of the death penalty ruling is the jury has to make that unanimous decision. If one juror says no, then it's not unanimous. Death penalty is off the table, and that is how both James and Juan Luna were able to escape the death penalty because the decisions were not unanimous.
11-1 is what I just saw.
Yeah. It was one person who, you know, was the change in that. And, you know, and that's so hard because like if you're on that jury, like you have to make your own decision. You have to not be influenced by others' decisions. Like it's just so kind of crazy to think about. And what a crazy case to be on the jury for.
Yeah,
right?
big time.
Have you ever had jury duty?
No, I actually never have.
Really?
No. Have you?
I've been called to jury duty, basically like put you in a room and then you sit there all day and maybe you'll get called, maybe you won't. I never got called. But I mean, imagine getting called for like a huge case like this. Or I know like the people that were on like the Casey Anthony case, like couldn't work for the entire trial, right? Like they have to be totally ensued in the trial. They can't, whatever. So trials that last a really long time, that's really hard on the jury.
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on in them. Like I said, Ann Lockett had not come forward earlier because James had threatened that he was going to kill her if she did. And she was terrified enough by this that it deterred her for 9 years coming forward. Now, Brown's Chicken, so that location ultimately filed for bankruptcy, and a lot of people correlate
that location or the whole franchise? Well, probably the whole franchise.
The whole franchise, yeah. Well, yes, the location actually turned into like a couple other things.
Yeah, it was a Cleaners.
It was a Chase Bank, I think. It was a Cleaners.
Bank now, yeah.
But Brown's Chicken, like as a whole, filed for bankruptcy, and a lot of people correlate it with this case, you know, being like, it is not true that all publicity is not good publicity.
Yeah.
And this, you know, kind of like was the downfall of this tragic event taking place. It had really nothing to do with Browns that itself, other than it took place there. Although I will say, I believe it was Juan Luna was a former employee of Browns, at that location. Again, not that I from what I read, not that had anything to do with it, but other than maybe he like knew better how to rob them because they did steal cash. But it's kind of hard to decide the motive here. Was their motive to go there and kill 7 people, or was their motive to rob the place, but they walked away with like less than $2,000?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, it's kind of just like I said, it's just a complete chaos of a case. And this, obviously was a huge deal, a super infamous case, even to this day. Like I said, it's the most notorious massacre in Chicago history.
Yeah, and like you said, that's why I've always been kind of interested in it, because it really hurt the franchise. It says right here that all restaurants just across, like not even just, obviously that one probably shut down immediately, I assume, was all sales dropped 35% within months of the incident. 35%. They had to close 100 stores in the Chicago. So that's a lot. 100. You said closed 100.
Yeah.
And there's still like, I don't know how many are left, but it had a huge effect on it. And like I said, it was a big spot kind of growing up. So yeah, and then I also just read that the owners, the daughter, she was supposed to be there that night. She was scheduled to work. Mm-hmm. She's in the state senate for Wisconsin right now.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder if that was her purpose behind it. Like, oh, that's why she went into it, that's crazy. Can you imagine those kinds of things where you're like, I was supposed to be there, or like, I just escaped that. It's like wild. Yeah. I mean, you can go down the rabbit hole with that kind of stuff, but
I know.
I mean, thank God she wasn't there. Not that wasn't a traumatizing incident for her in the least, but at least she wasn't there. For whatever reason, she didn't go to work that night.
Yeah, for real. But it's a good spot. I don't know. It seems like they. I believe. I want to say.
So there's some left.
Yeah. There's like 25 left. I'm looking at it right now too. So.
All right.
I want to say that Dick Portillo actually bought it.
Stop.
Yeah. Way back in the day, huh?
So is it Portillo's now?
No.
Or they just own it.
There's like a separate entity, but I don't.
I love Portillo's.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's like a.
Well, if you're in the Chicago area, go to Brown's Chicken. I feel like I need to go.
Yeah, now you need to try Brown's.
Yeah. I mean, if Dick Portillo owns it, then it's got to be
good.
good.
I don't quote me on that. There was
maybe
something was with that. I remember. But yeah, it's a crazy, scary. I mean, to kill 7 people execution style in the fucking.
To just go to work and think you're just going to work.
Yeah, over $2,000 is like.
Yeah, over nothing.
The
over
ultimate
pennies.
Scary thing where it's like people just don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And like nothing's too little. So.
Yep.
It's crazy. It's super sad. So.
It is. It is. But that is, there you have it. It was, like you said, it was a highly requested case here on the show. So I hope we did it justice to our listeners. But there you have it.
Yeah. There you go. The Brown's Chicken. Maybe it's his brother, Frank Portillo. Sorry, I was trying to read that. Sorry, I don't know. But yeah. All right, Allie. That's it. That's the Brown's Chicken Massacre. Thanks, everybody, for listening. That's it for this week. We'll see you all on Monday.